My beloved child, pause here for a moment, because what you are about to hear was not placed before you by accident. Out of all the voices, all the noise, all the distractions surrounding your heart today, this message found you because something has shifted in the unseen. Do not move past these words too quickly. Something is waiting for you within them. Your soulmate has reached a place in their heart that they can no longer deny, and the truth they have been carrying is heavier, deeper, and more life-changing than you realize. They want to stay with you forever. They have imagined the years, the mornings, the ordinary evenings, the difficult seasons, and the beautiful moments that could exist beside you. But there is one condition, and until you understand what it truly means, you may misunderstand everything that is about to happen. The condition is not what fear has already whispered to you. It is not about your appearance. It is not about how much you possess, how successful you become, how perfectly you speak, or whether you can prove yourself worthy of love. Heaven is asking you to silence those old voices now, because they are trying to interrupt a revelation meant to set you free. Your soulmate is not standing at the edge of this connection with a list of impossible demands. They are standing there with a trembling heart, holding one sacred request they have struggled to put into words. And the reason they have not spoken it yet is because they are afraid you may hear it through the wounds of your past instead of through the love in which it was formed. Stay with this message, because the condition is connected to something you have been sensing for a long time. There have been moments when you felt this person moving closer emotionally, only for them to become quiet again. Moments when their energy seemed warm, open, almost certain, and then suddenly distant. You may have wondered whether they changed their mind. You may have questioned whether their feelings were ever as real as yours. But I tell you now, their silence was not always rejection. Their hesitation was not always a lack of love. Sometimes, they stepped back because what they felt for you became so serious that it frightened them. They knew this was not a passing emotion. They knew they could not treat you like a temporary chapter. Something about you reached beyond attraction and touched the part of them that had been guarded for years. You awakened a longing they had trained themselves not to feel. You made forever seem possible, and that possibility forced them to confront every reason they had once believed lasting love was unsafe. That is where the hidden struggle began. There is a room inside their heart that very few people have ever entered. It is filled with memories they rarely discuss, disappointments they pretend no longer matter, and promises made to them that were never kept. They learned how to smile while expecting abandonment. They learned how to care while preparing for loss. They learned how to appear calm when their heart was quietly asking whether anyone would ever choose them without eventually changing their mind. Then you appeared, and something in your presence challenged every defense they had built. At first, they believed they could keep their feelings controlled. They told themselves not to imagine too much. They tried to remain practical. They may have distracted themselves, stayed busy, spoken less, or acted as if the connection was not affecting them deeply. Yet when the world became quiet, thoughts of you returned. Your voice returned. Your expressions returned. The way you made them feel understood returned. They began imagining conversations that had not happened yet and moments that belonged to a future they were afraid to desire. Do not skip what is coming next, because this is where the truth becomes more personal. Your soulmate has already pictured what staying with you forever would look like. They have imagined waking beside you when life is peaceful, but they have also imagined standing beside you when life becomes difficult. They have pictured holding your hand during moments when neither of you has the right words. They have imagined protecting the connection from outside opinions, misunderstandings, and seasons of uncertainty. They have seen, in the private theater of their mind, a life where the two of you no longer have to wonder whether the other person will disappear. But every time that vision begins to feel real, one question rises inside them. It is the question behind the condition. It is the one fear they cannot simply ignore, because it reaches into the deepest place within them. They are asking, without yet saying it aloud, will you stay emotionally present when love stops feeling effortless? That is only the doorway to the condition, not the whole revelation. Your soulmate does not expect perfection from you. They know there will be misunderstandings. They know two hearts can love deeply and still need time to understand each other. They know there may be moments of frustration, silence, or emotional distance. What frightens them is not conflict itself. What frightens them is the thought that conflict could cause you to close your heart completely. They fear that one difficult moment might make you retreat so far inward that they can no longer reach you. They fear loving you forever while never knowing whether you will allow yourself to be fully known. This fear did not appear without reason. They have noticed something about you, something tender that others may have judged but they have tried to understand. When you are hurt, you do not always express the full depth of what you feel. Sometimes, you become quiet. Sometimes, you convince yourself that explaining your pain will only make things worse. You may tell yourself that you are protecting your dignity, but beneath that silence is often a heart afraid of being misunderstood again. Your soulmate has sensed this, even when you believed you hid it well. They have seen the moments when your words became shorter. They have felt the shift when your warmth became guarded. They have wondered what you were thinking when you said you were fine but your energy told a different story. They did not always know how to respond. Sometimes, they wanted to reach for you but feared pushing too hard. Sometimes, they gave you space, only to wonder if their distance made you feel abandoned. And slowly, a question grew inside them: if we build a life together, will they let me into the places they usually hide? This is where heaven asks you not to become defensive. You are not being blamed. You are being invited into a deeper understanding. The condition your soulmate carries is not designed to control you. It is not an ultimatum. It is a plea for emotional truth. They want to stay forever, but they need to know that forever will not become a beautiful house filled with unspoken pain. They need to know that when something hurts, you will not punish yourself by disappearing behind your walls. They need to know that you will trust the connection enough to speak. Yet there is another layer, and this is the part they are most afraid to reveal. Your soulmate is not only asking you to open your heart. They know they must open theirs too. The condition is not one-sided. It demands something from both of you, and they are aware that once they speak it, they will no longer be able to hide behind their own defenses. They will have to become the kind of person they are asking you to be. They have spent years surviving by keeping parts of themselves private. They may appear confident, composed, or even emotionally independent, but there are places within them that still shake when love becomes too real. They fear losing control. They fear saying too much. They fear giving someone the power to hurt them. And yet, with you, they are beginning to understand that a guarded heart cannot create the forever they desire. Recently, something happened inside them. It may not have been visible from the outside. There may have been no dramatic conversation, no public declaration, no obvious sign. But in a quiet moment, they were confronted by the possibility of losing you emotionally. Perhaps they sensed you pulling back. Perhaps they remembered something you said. Perhaps they saw a future in which neither of you spoke honestly until the connection faded beneath the weight of assumptions. Whatever awakened this realization, it shook them. For the first time, they understood that loving you silently would not be enough. Wanting forever would not create forever. Imagining a life beside you would mean nothing if both of you continued protecting yourselves from the very intimacy you were meant to share. They realized that the greatest threat to this connection was not another person. It was not distance, timing, or outside interference. It was the possibility that fear could make both of you hide at the exact moment love was asking you to be seen. Listen closely, because this is where their private promise began. They told themselves that if they were given the opportunity to build something real with you, they would no longer run at the first sign of emotional difficulty. They would learn to speak instead of assuming. They would ask instead of accusing. They would remain present instead of disappearing into pride. They would stop expecting you to read what they had never expressed. This promise was not easy for them to make, because it required them to release the patterns that once protected them. But then they thought of you, and the fear of losing you became greater than the fear of changing. Something huge is waiting within this revelation, because their condition is beginning to transform into a covenant. They do not want you to promise that you will never make mistakes. They do not want you to guarantee that every day will feel romantic or effortless. They want something more honest. They want the two of you to promise that silence will never become a weapon. They want honesty to be stronger than pride. They want both of you to return to the conversation, even after emotions become difficult. They want to stay with you forever, but only if forever means that both of you choose each other in truth, not merely in fantasy. This may sound simple, but heaven knows how difficult it can be for two wounded hearts to remain open. You have both learned different ways to survive. One of you may seek closeness when afraid, while the other seeks space. One of you may need immediate reassurance, while the other needs time to understand what they feel. These differences do not mean you are incompatible. They mean you will need compassion. They mean you will need patience. They mean love must become more than emotion, it must become a language you are both willing to learn. Your soulmate is beginning to learn your language. They have noticed what makes you feel safe, even when you did not explain it directly. They have remembered small details you assumed they forgot. They have replayed moments when your eyes revealed what your words concealed. They have recognized that your strength is real, but so is your need to be reassured. They know you do not want empty promises. You want consistency. You want someone whose actions do not contradict their words. You want to know that when you finally relax your heart, you will not be punished for trusting. They understand this more deeply now than they did before. There was a time when they may have believed that strong feelings alone were enough. They thought love would naturally solve every misunderstanding. They thought the connection itself would carry both of you through uncertainty. But now they see that forever is built through repeated choices. It is built when someone answers with tenderness instead of defensiveness. It is built when truth is spoken before resentment takes root. It is built when two people stop keeping score and start protecting what matters. And here is the mystery: while they have been thinking about the condition they need from you, they have also been asking themselves whether they are worthy of asking for it. They know there have been moments when they confused you. They know they may have made you question their intentions. They know their inconsistency may have touched wounds they never meant to awaken. There are things they wish they had handled differently. Words they wish they had spoken sooner. Reassurance they wish they had offered before your heart began filling the silence with painful possibilities. They have not forgotten. In fact, one memory returns to them more often than you know. It was a moment when they sensed you needed something emotionally, but they did not give it. Perhaps they were afraid. Perhaps pride stopped them. Perhaps they misunderstood your silence and believed you wanted distance. But now, looking back, they see that you may have been waiting for a sign that they cared enough to stay present. The realization has been difficult for them to carry. They have asked themselves whether that moment changed something in you. They have wondered if part of your heart became more guarded afterward. They have questioned whether you still believe they can offer the security you need. And this is why their desire for forever is no longer casual. They know they must prove that they have grown, not through grand speeches, but through the way they show up. Do not leave this message yet, because the next part concerns the words they have been rehearsing privately. Your soulmate has imagined sitting across from you, looking directly into your eyes, and finally telling you what has been happening within them. They imagine beginning confidently, but they know their voice may tremble. They imagine trying to explain that they are not asking for control, perfection, or constant reassurance. They are asking for partnership. They are asking you not to make them guess when your heart is hurting. They are asking you to believe that difficult conversations do not have to end in abandonment. But every time they rehearse these words, another fear appears. What if they think I am asking for too much? That question has kept them silent longer than they intended. They know you have been through experiences that taught you to be careful. They know someone may have once used your vulnerability against you. Someone may have asked you to open up, only to dismiss what you shared. Someone may have promised to stay, then became distant when your emotions were no longer convenient. Your soulmate does not want to become another person who demands access to your heart without creating safety around it. So they have been watching themselves carefully. They have been asking whether their actions are ready to support their words. They do not want to tell you to trust while behaving unpredictably. They do not want to ask for honesty while hiding their own fears. They do not want to speak of forever while remaining emotionally half-present. This inner examination is changing them. There is a version of your soulmate that existed before this connection became serious. That version could walk away from uncomfortable feelings, pretend not to care, or distract themselves until longing became quieter. But the person they are becoming cannot do that so easily anymore. Your presence has awakened accountability in them. Loving you has made them look at parts of themselves they once avoided. This is why the condition is sacred. It is not a wall standing between you. It is a doorway both of you must walk through together. The condition is that neither of you abandons the relationship emotionally while still claiming to remain physically present. Let those words settle. Your soulmate fears a kind of distance that cannot be measured in miles. They fear sitting beside you while feeling shut out of your heart. They fear sharing a home, a future, or a commitment while unresolved pain slowly turns tenderness into formality. They would rather face an honest storm with you than live through a peaceful-looking silence that hides growing separation. They want forever, but they want a forever that is alive. They want laughter that comes from emotional freedom. They want conversations that go beyond daily routines. They want the kind of closeness where both of you can say, "This hurt me," without the other person hearing, "You are a failure." They want to build something in which correction does not feel like rejection, and vulnerability does not feel like weakness. Yet heaven also sees your question rising: why must there be a condition if the love is real? Because, beloved child, unconditional love does not mean accepting unhealthy patterns without change. Love can be deep and still require honesty. Love can be forgiving and still need boundaries. Love can be destined and still demand maturity. Your soulmate's condition is not that you become someone else. It is that both of you stop allowing fear to speak louder than your devotion. They want the real you, not the version that never needs anything. They want the part of you that laughs freely, but also the part that sometimes worries. They want your confidence, but also your uncertainty. They want your light, but they are willing to sit with you when you do not feel bright. What they cannot endure forever is being asked to love a heart that remains locked while pretending the door is open. And they know the same truth applies to them. This is why a conversation is approaching. The energy around this connection is moving toward greater honesty. Something that has remained beneath the surface is preparing to rise. It may begin subtly. A question. A message. A pause that feels heavier than usual. A moment when one of you senses that the usual answers are no longer enough. Your soulmate may not reveal everything at once. They may test the emotional space first. They may speak around the truth before speaking directly into it. Do not mistake their nervousness for uncertainty about you. They are uncertain about how the truth will be received. They are trying to discover whether it is safe to place their deepest hope in your hands. That hope is you. They want to know whether the two of you can create a love where neither person must perform strength constantly. They want to know whether they can admit, "I was afraid you would leave," without feeling ashamed. They want to know whether you can admit, "I pulled away because I did not know how to ask for reassurance," without believing you have lost your power. This mutual honesty is the condition. But there is one final layer they have not yet admitted, even to themselves completely. It is the revelation that will change how you understand their desire for forever. Your soulmate is not merely afraid of losing the relationship. They are afraid of losing the version of themselves that comes alive around you. With you, they have glimpsed a softer life. They have felt parts of their spirit awaken that had been sleeping beneath responsibility, disappointment, and emotional restraint. You reminded them that love can feel like recognition. You made them imagine becoming more open, more courageous, and more truthful. You did not only enter their heart, you awakened a future identity within them. That is why this matters so much. They fear that if the two of you fail to speak honestly, they will not only lose you. They will lose the life they began believing was possible because of you. They will return to surviving instead of living. They will return to pretending they do not need deep connection. They will return to a version of themselves that feels safe but incomplete. They do not want to return. Still, they are waiting for one sign before they reveal the condition fully. They are watching to see whether your heart is still willing. Not desperate. Not chasing. Not proving. Simply willing. Willing to meet truth with truth. Willing to let the past teach you without allowing it to dictate every response. Willing to build something that does not collapse every time fear enters the room. Heaven is preparing you because the sign may need to come from you first. It may not require a grand declaration. It may be a moment of unexpected honesty. It may be you expressing something calmly that you would normally hide. It may be you choosing not to withdraw when the connection becomes emotionally intense. It may be a simple sentence that tells them, "You do not have to guess what I feel." That sentence could open the door they have been standing before. But listen carefully. You are not being told to abandon wisdom. You are not being asked to ignore inconsistency or accept words without action. Divine love does not ask you to betray yourself. The invitation is not to surrender your boundaries. It is to stop using walls where boundaries would be enough. A boundary says, "This is what I need to feel respected." A wall says, "You will never get close enough to hurt me." Your soulmate wants to respect your boundaries. What they fear is spending forever outside your walls. And now, the moment of greatest suspense is approaching, because the condition they plan to speak contains a promise hidden within it. They do not only intend to ask something of you. They intend to offer something in return. Something they have never offered anyone in the same way. Something that will require courage from them and may finally answer the question you have carried for longer than you admit. You have wondered whether they would choose you when choosing you demanded change. You have wondered whether they would defend the connection when outside voices became loud. You have wondered whether they would remain when the fantasy of love became the responsibility of love. They are closer to answering than you know. In their private thoughts, they have already formed the beginning of the promise. They have said, "If they let me into their truth, I will not run from what I find there."